September 80, 2009. What kind of nightmare begins when the radio goes silent, the mountains close in like watching predators, and wounded men scream for help, while death stalks every step? Would you drive straight into that hell knowing you may never come back? On that suffocating morning in the Ganjgal Valley of Kunar Province, Afghanistan, U.S. Marine Corps Sgt. Dakota Meyer stepped into a chapter of modern warfare that still chills those who study it. As a joint U.S. Afghan patrol moved through steep terrain for a shura with village elders, unaware that Taliban fighters had already sealed their fate by occupying the ridgelines above, transforming the valley into a perfectly shaped killing bowl, where gravity, elevation, and surprise belonged entirely to the enemy. And when the ambush erupted with deafening cracks of machine guns and RPGs tearing through rock and flesh alike, chaos swallowed command as communication failures crippled the ability to call in immediate air or artillery support, leaving Marines, soldiers, and a Navy corpsman exposed under relentless fire. Meyer, positioned in overwatch with a gun truck, watched through dust and smoke as teammates were pinned down, wounded, or killed. And while protocol and orders demanded withdrawal to avoid further losses, something colder and more primal seized him, because he could hear voices on the radio breaking into panic, hear a corpsman pleading to reach the injured, and hear nothing at all from others who had already fallen silent. So he climbed into the truck, manned the turret, and drove straight into the ambush. The engine roaring like a defiant scream as bullets slammed into metal, the valley echoing with impacts that sounded like bones snapping. And on that first run, he laid down suppressive fire so others could escape, then turned back again and again, each pass worse than the last as enemy fighters closed in, firing from houses, trees, and rocks, so close their muzzle flashes flickered like demonic eyes in the shadows. During one of these runs, Meyer dismounted into open ground swept by gunfire, sprinting toward wounded Marines and a Navy corpsman, his boots slipping in blood-darkened dust, lifting bodies that were limp or screaming, dragging them back while rounds snapped inches from his head, and the horror intensified when he reached fallen comrades whose injuries were beyond saving, their faces frozen in shock, eyes open and glassy, forcing him to confront death not as an abstract risk, but as a physical presence crouched beside him, breathing, watching, waiting. Yet he refused to retreat, making a total of 5 separate trips into the valley, an act bordering on the unbelievable when considering the tactical reality, because the enemy had clear fields of fire, numerical advantage, and terrain dominance, and still Meyer pressed forward, ultimately helping recover the bodies of 4 American service members who would otherwise have been left behind. A task as emotionally devastating as it was dangerous, because retrieving the dead under fire meant acknowledging that the fight had already taken something irreversible. Among those lost was Navy corpsman Juan Doc Rodriguez Chavez, a medic who ran toward the wounded instead of away, embodying the cruel paradox of war where those sworn to save life are often the first to give their own. And for Meyer, the image of a medic under fire became a permanent scar. A reminder that courage in combat is often paid for with unbearable memory. As the battle dragged on for hours, the valley itself seemed cursed, smoke clinging unnaturally low, the smell of cordite and blood mixing with the heat, the silence between firefights so thick it felt haunted, as if the mountains were holding their breath. And when air support finally arrived and the Taliban fire slackened, what remained was a landscape marked by cratered earth, shattered buildings, spent casings carpeting the ground, and the kind of quiet that only follows extreme violence. A quiet that screams louder than gunfire. Meyer would later be awarded the Medal of Honor, becoming one of the few living recipients at the time. Yet even that recognition cannot fully convey the psychological toll of that day, because bravery does not erase fear, and heroism does not shield the mind from replaying the same moments at night. The same screams, the same unanswered radio calls, the same faces staring back from the dust. And in the years that followed, Meyer openly spoke about survivors' guilt, about struggling with the weight of being alive when others were not, offering rare insight into the aftermath of combat that is often hidden behind medals and citations. Historically, the Battle of Ganjgal exposed painful lessons about coordination, rules of engagement, and the deadly consequences of delayed support, reminding military planners that even elite forces are vulnerable when systems fail. But on a human level, it revealed something darker and more unsettling. That war can strip moments down to raw instinct, where a single individual's decision to move forward rather than retreat becomes the thin line between abandonment and honor, between forgetting the fallen and carrying them home. For viewers today, this story is not just about gunfire and valor, but about standing in a place where fear feels alive, where the dead seem close enough to touch, and where one man repeatedly chose to enter a nightmare so others would not be left alone in it. Which leads to a final haunting question that demands your thoughts and your voice. If you had been there on September 18, 2009, with death closing in from every direction and no promise of survival, would you have driven back into the valley of death one more time, or would the horror have broken you first?